I'll tell you. All right, that's a go. We are live.
We are live.
Yep.
We are back here. This is ARMBAR. We are live here on Facebook. And of course, I myself am the rock star, Jay Ochoa, accompanied by Mike the Biz, and he is awesome.
There we go. Looks like somebody is joining in last minute.
And joining in last minute from a late night dinner, he is 7-star Jaime Esteban. Hopefully his late night dinner was just like his nickname, 7 stars.
It actually wasn't even a late night dinner. I had to go pick up some snacks for my wife. So they took a while to get everything situated. So I just
Where did you go?
over here.
Asking.
I went to Snowball Express. It's not even that far. Ironically, it's not even that far away from my house, but they always take a while. I don't know why. So, but I'm here. Right? I'm here.
Yes.
Sounds good. Welcome, guys. Welcome, everyone, to ARMBAR. It's a late stream tonight. Unfortunately, we couldn't get on a little earlier than it was. But we are back this week. It's Thursday night, so I feel like Thursday might be, again, a usual Thursday stream for us, at least. Let me I don't know what Jared's covering up there exactly, but I can't mute his mic. Let me see. Maybe I'll go to solo layout for now. Or maybe nope, that doesn't work either. Hold on. I can just put this back on me really quick. I don't know if he wants me to block the shot but right now we have it on me. Jaime, you're still here technically, so go ahead and say something in the background just so that people can listen in.
I mean, we do actually have a lot of things to cover this week in regards to professional wrestling and mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
A couple of announcements that were made throughout the day and also throughout the whole week. We have Survivor Series this coming Sunday. We have the farewell of the Undertaker, in which he had some interviews done. Today they released a video of him taking down 10 hot wings from the Hot Ones, hosted by Sean Evans, and the guy asked him a lot of hard-hitting questions. Some questions that we have heard of before, others that we haven't really heard of even in a while, covering some bait or some of his career that isn't WWE related, so I really enjoyed it. This Sunday they're on the network. They're gonna have another round with Stone Cold Steve Austin on his Broken Skull sessions, where Steve Austin's going to go ahead and interview The Undertaker and cover things that they didn't really cover from the first interview that they had, I want to say a while back. So they're going to be doing that, and also announced today for next year, or not next year, but in January. Let me see if I can try to put it up on my screen. There was a fight that was made official for UFC 257. Dustin Poirier will be taking on Conor McGregor, and it's going to be their second fight. The first time they fought, it was Conor McGregor's fourth fight in the UFC, in which he won by TKO in the first round. So this should be interesting because they're not. I believe they were fighting at flyweights the last time, and now they're going to be taking on each other as lightweights, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be a very good, interesting fight. And I mean, to me, honestly, I'm a McGregor fan. Any fights with Conor McGregor, it's very interesting. The guy, he obviously talks a lot, but he can back it up. And he's done it time and time in the octagon. With that fight with the Cowboy Don Cerrone, he just literally knocked him out within seconds. And I mean, Jay was there with me. It was last year in January where that fight took place. So it's gonna be a very good solid card. So I'm hoping that everyone gets their money's worth. So I mean, and also I'm pretty sure Jay's gonna want to talk about this. The first ever PWI tag team. 50. And
he just mentioned that actually before you got on the stream, and I was like, wait, is this the first ever PWI tag team top 50?
They've never had it before. It's the first time that they've had it, because I mean, over the years we've heard, PWI 500 of men's, and then in '08 we saw the release of the women's, and now now they're doing the tag team edition. So I mean, I'm interested in as to why FTR as number one. They've had other individuals. They've had I believe the New Day. They've had the North from Impact. They've had the Lucha Brothers. They've had Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page as number two. They even had Bayley and Sasha, I believe, that's number three as well. Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting as to why, in that particular order, why it happened like that, and what it sets for any other future tag teams out there. So I mean, I'm pretty sure Jay's gonna want to go ahead and cover that as well, and he's back on the screen here with us.
There he is. Oh, wait, hold on. Can we hear him? I think your mic's messed up, Jay. I'm not 100% sure. Or you might want to plug it back in to your phone, or you might have muted yourself on the screen. Oh, I think I can hear something. Say something.
Nope.
Not hearing you. Unplug your mic and then plug it back in, or unplug that. Like unplug your entire headset from your phone. Technical difficulties.
It happens.
Yeah, I know. I need to get him an external mic for his phone, or something like that. Christmas might come early this year, Jay, is all I'm gonna say. Nope, still can't hear you, bro. Hello? Check your StreamYard screen to see if you muted yourself on accident. You might have muted yourself on the screen. Okay, hold on. Let me unmute, because here it says I muted him, but then I unmute him. Remove solo, edit Mac. Nope, I can't do much. I cannot do much on your end. Still nothing, bro. There you go. He might have to leave and come back. So yeah, I think it's very interesting on the tag team top 50, man. Definitely there could be some arguments to why FTR is on there, and why other tag teams like Adam Page and Kenny Omega, or even the Young Bucks, obviously, are not on that magazine. Obviously, I think they probably are going to go with the hottest tag team that has been around the last 6 months. And if you think about it, before they left WWE, they were the tag champions pretty much.
Yeah.
For a majority of the last year or so, they were SmackDown tag champions, I believe, and then they were Raw tag champions, and then even prior to that, they were the NXT tag team champions. So I think that's one thing that people kind of are not kind of paying attention to. Okay, let me see if Jay gets back in here. Hello. All
right, can you hear me?
Yes. There we go.
Finally, I'm back. So
yeah, the show's over. I'm just kidding.
That only happens when Jaime shows up, but it's okay.
Yep.
Wow.
But in all seriousness, though, yes, 1991 was history making when we had the first ever Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500, which was won by Hulk Hogan. 2008, the first ever PWI Female 50, won by Awesome Kong, formerly Karma in WWE. And of course, also, as Mike the Biz has just put on an emoji, we just had 2018 was the first ever. Sorry, not 2018. 2019 was the first ever PWI Female 100, which was won by Ronda Rousey. And now this year, the first ever PWI Tag Team 50 with FTR. It goes to show that tag team wrestling can still be a main event when you have a tag team, an entire tag team lineup, be given its own, top 50 or top 100 in a prestigious wrestling magazine like Pro Wrestling Illustrated, one that I've collected over the years since 1996. And of course, Mike, I'm not too sure how long, if you've ever collected that particular.
I remember seeing those
publication.
I remember seeing those magazines around, at supermarkets, Walmart, wherever you get your magazines. I remember just peeking at them and just taking a look and see, what's up, what's going around in the wrestling scene. And I managed to get the list of the top 10 tag team And you guys tell me whether or not they either deserve that spot or who should have been in that spot instead of said tag team. We have the.
Do you feel FTR should have been voted number one, or did you have somebody else in mind?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of a toss up because yes, FTR, they came from WWE where there wasn't that much going on with them. Everything, in regards to them tag teaming, it was slowing down. But as soon as they hit AEW, things started picking up. I think it should have gone to Kenny Omega and Adam Page because they had been very dominant throughout the whole year up until All Out, I believe.
I disagree.
Where they lost the tag titles.
Of course he would.
No, it's not because Kenny Omega was a part of that tag team. I just really thought they were a very still tag team, and the fact that like half the time they were basically arguing over Adam Page's alcoholism or whatever you want to call it. Like that really wasn't something that I really cared to watch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that AEW is a lot more edgier than WWE in their storylines and and matches, etc. like that. But I just really thought like this isn't an angle that I really care about. You know what I mean? It kind of reminded me of like them kind of knocking on Jeff Hardy for having like his issues. When he had real life issues. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just me though.
So let's see. So the first one on the list, which was number 10, was from New Japan, Roppongi 3K, Show and Yo. Then number 9, it was Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. Number 8 was the trio known as the New Day.
Wow, I'm surprised they're that low on the list, actually.
And then number 7 was the Lucha Bros. Number 6, I'm sorry, was the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Then number 5 was the Street Profits.
Wow.
Number 4 was the North from Impact Wrestling. Number 3 was the Golden Role Models, Bailey and Sasha Banks. Number 2, yeah.
Well, it's not just a tag team that has to be just two males. It could be a dominant female tag team, in which Bailey and Sasha were, for the most part, in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not saying anything there.
And then number 2 was Kenny Omega and Adam Page, and number 1 obviously was FTR. Wow. Anyone that you guys would have either put on that list on a higher level, or do you think that list is perfectly fine as is?
I don't have any complaints, honestly. FTR did have a resurgence once they returned to AEW, but Hangman and Omega, I would have probably said number 1 because they were, up until All Out, they were consistent as far as being tag team champions and having exciting matches are concerned. Roppongi 3K and Gorillas of Destiny, the fact that they made the top 10, especially when half the year New Japan was out due to the pandemic, it goes to show their staying power. And, of course, the Gorillas of Destiny there in this year's World Tag League for the opportunity to challenge for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles at Wrestle Kingdom. So big ups to them. And, of course, Show is part of the Best of Super Juniors as well for an opportunity at the Junior Heavyweight title at Wrestle Kingdom. As far as the North, yes, Impact Wrestling.
They were very dominant within the whole past year. Since last year, they were Impact Tag Team Champions. And honestly, who better?
I saw their first title defense live on pay-per-view in Dallas for Slammiversary last year when they took on LAX, and which would be one of their final matches before they left. And I want to say the Rascals were also in that match as well, from what I remember from last year's Slammiversary. So the North had some consistency. And the Rascals might be coming to WWE soon, by the way. It might be a tag team even Mike might be interested in.
They just had their farewell match this past Tuesday on Impact, where it was they two of the Rascal members, I forgot who I forgot to tell them apart. They took on
I think it was Dez and Trey and Wentz, I believe.
Yeah. One of them had teamed up with Rich Swann, so they pretty much had a tag team match there. But it was their farewell match right there. Everyone kept on commenting on Twitter, thank you, Rascals. And I mean, they're very dominant in the tag team scene there in Impact, even in singles careers as well. Looking at this list again, one tag team that kind of shocks me that it's not there are the Young Bucks. Because I mean, obviously, who doesn't know the Young Bucks? And I mean, they've had a pretty good year. I mean, it wasn't, all wins and championships up until now, late in the year. But I mean, you would think that, hey, we're gonna go ahead and try to put them at least, for example, like a number 9 or 10, within the top 10 of the list. Where they might have landed, who knows? Because it's a list of top 50 tag team from PWI. So who knows where they might have landed? But I think they should have at least landed top 10.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I mean, overall, the tag team scene was very good, especially in AEW in 2020. I would say they probably have the best tag teams in wrestling today over in All Elite Wrestling. Kind of hard to pick anything from Ring of Honor because they're just barely restarting. And plus, there's not many out there as far as steady tag teams. But also, to answer Ignacio's question, yes, he can rebuttal. So, yeah, we definitely can do that. But at the same time, though, like I said, AEW just right now is, I think when it comes to the tag team scene, they pretty much have what I consider the best tag team scene in all of wrestling, not just in North America, but all across the globe. But and that's saying a lot, especially with New Japan and their stacked tag team lineup, which is obvious in the World Tag League. But overall, it's a first, so it's definitely going to be a collector's item edition whenever one picks it up from your local newsstand. But overall, I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect for a PWI Tag Team 50. But it's good that at least, hey, there's more than just singles wrestlers, male or female, being recognized. Hey, there's some great tag teams that deserve that recognition as opposed to just that one per year, which is the tag team of the year or perhaps that match or feud of the year, which very rarely do tag team matches get or tag team rivalries or matches get that particular award. I think the last time that we had seen a great tag team feud that had gotten that kind of recognition was Edge and Christian, the Dudleys and the Hardys at WrestleMania 16 and 17, back-to-back years from PWI, or back in '88, the Midnight Express and the Fantastics, to name a few. So it's good that tag team wrestling's still getting its recognition that it deserves. But let's go ahead and kick things off. Raw this past Monday, your thoughts on the new WWE champion Drew McIntyre defeating Randy Orton and now setting up for Survivor Series, Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns, champion versus champion.
Either way, I think it's still a very good main event setting up for Survivor Series, whether or not it had been Randy Orton and Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns. It still would have been a good solid match. Yes, and I had seen this on Monday where people were complaining, either or, Roman Reigns had already had a feud with the both of them. He's already beaten both of them. Why try and have it again? Difference is McIntyre and Reigns last year for Mania, there was no championships involved. There was just two guys. Yes, that's when Roman Reigns had just come back from his leukemia, and he was ready for WrestleMania, and Drew McIntyre kept on kicking him on the head. Yes, we've had Randy Orton as part of the Authority feud with Roman Reigns. So either or, it's still a high caliber match. I was kind of upset that at the fact that Drew McIntyre won, but it sets up a huge babyface versus a huge heel right now. As far as WWE booking and title booking goes, who knows what direction they're going to go with the championship now that the year's gonna end, and then starting next year in January. They're already gonna be in WrestleMania season, so they're gonna start off with the Rumble and just go off from there. So who knows what's gonna happen there? I thought the Miz was gonna go ahead and cash in, but who knows? He still has a whole full year. He can go ahead and cash it in. This Sunday at Survivor Series, he can go ahead and cash it in. Monday, he can go ahead and cash it in whenever he wants, whenever he feels like it, and he's showing that he is trying to be a threat when holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, as opposed to how when Otis would just carry it, he would just carry it as a prop, and that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to show, hey, you know what? Whenever I want to, you screw up, I'm gonna go ahead and cash and I'm gonna win your championship. And it can happen at any time, any place. It can happen, at the end of someone's match. We've seen it in the middle of a match, WrestleMania 31 between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins cashed in the middle of a match, turned into a triple threat match, and he ended up winning it from there. So, I mean, it can happen, again, anytime, any place. So I'm intrigued as to, what's going to happen from there after Survivor Series, how WWE is going to go ahead and start booking their long-term from here until Mania. And then also it was reported that I want to say after next week, they're not going to be using the Thunderdome due to the fact that basketball season's already come back on. They're going to be using a baseball stadium.
It's still going to be the Thunderdome, but it's just going to be moved from the Amway Center in Orlando to the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg. So it's still going to be the Thunderdome, just different venue, different city in the state of Florida.
It's going to be, honestly, it's going to be a little more bigger. But who knows what's going to happen from there?
Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of when it's heel versus heel matches because, the part of it that for fans to be invested is who you want to cheer for. Randy Orton has done his share of reprehensible things this year, attacking Edge upon Edge's return to full-time competition, as well as also his attacks on WWE legends, and then also how he beat what was then the unbeatable Drew McIntyre, who had not lost in almost a year since his chase for the WWE Championship, and Roman Reigns, who has become now this vile villain who has to have control of the table that he sits at. That you want to see Roman get his, but it's like how satisfied are you going to be if it's another villain going after a villain that you already are disliking? It's like, well, I want to see him get his, but yet the other person that's going after him is someone I want to see him get his too. And it's kind of like, it doesn't make sense for Sabretooth to go after, say, for example, Magneto. You want Wolverine in there. So in this case, Drew McIntyre is having to be Wolverine going after Sabretooth, that being Roman Reigns, because Drew has become such a popular star amongst WWE fans, and he's believable to where I could see why Triple H made the comparison that saying Drew versus Roman would be like Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair today. But as far as this match happening at Survivor Series, it's already happened once at WrestleMania, and also once in a match that wasn't really all that great last year at the Stomping Grounds or Breaking Ground pay-per-view. I'm not too sure what it was called.
Stomping Grounds.
At the same time, though, when you look at it, you both saw the Royal Rumble this past January. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Who were the final two men in the 2020 Royal Rumble? I was there, but I'm not going to say so.
Reigns and McIntyre.
And who won the Royal Rumble?
McIntyre. And he even rubbed it in Reigns' face on SmackDown.
Yeah. Who's to say that Roman Reigns has forgotten that? So trust me, I think this is going to be the most intriguing match heading into the Survivor Series. Sasha versus Asuka, I'm sure is going to be good. Same thing with New Day versus Street Profits. I kind of hearken to that of seeing say the Rock and Roll Express and the Fantastics. If these two tag teams did battle in a battle of good guy tag teams, Bobby Lashley, Sami Zayn, I just cannot, get invested into. It's just.
I bet you anything Sami Zayn's going to somehow win that match.
Yeah.
I'll watch it, but it's not one that right now I'm invested into. If the hype was a little bit better, I would definitely see it. But in this case with Roman versus Drew, this is definitely a true, I would say it's a good super fight come Sunday at Survivor Series. As far as who wins, I know people are thinking, oh, Roman's going to win no matter. It's like, well, do you know that for sure? Were you at the booking meeting? You know, that kind of thing. So let's just enjoy the match and let's enjoy what could be a true potential super fight Sunday with Drew and Reigns. So I'm definitely going to be up for it. And of course, this past Wednesday on NXT, the return of the NXT champion Finn Balor, but also the return of the Undisputed Era. And the big announcement from the NXT general manager, William Regal. And I love when he announces the match type, much like how Teddy Long would announce, you're going to go one-on-one with The Undertaker, or it's going to be a tag team match.
This is a tag team match.
But for William Regal, his line, much like the Teddy Long's tag team matches or matches set up with The Undertaker, it's War Games.
That's it. And that's all you have to say.
That's just, you know, one word, 2 syllables, War Games. And we have the Undisputed Era taking on, for the brand, as they call himself, Pat McAfee, the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and the tag team champions, Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. Your thoughts on this match coming up with the War Games coming up on December 6th?
Well, I'll take that first, I guess, since I really haven't been paying too much to NXT, but I was actually watching the end of the NXT show this past Wednesday, right? So I'm pretty verbal with Jay saying that I kind of don't follow NXT as much ever since it transitioned over to the USA Network. And not because, like, you know, I'm not invested into the characters anymore or anything like that. I just really want to watch something that's other than non-WWE product right now, and that's AEW, obviously. And it just so happens that they're both on Wednesday night, so I usually choose AEW over NXT. Finn Balor came back last night, obviously, which was great. Hopefully, you know, he can set himself up in some good matches going forward the rest of the year, right? But yeah, that basically set up the War Games match, which I'm not. I mean, I don't really care for that Pat McAfee guy. Is that his name? McAfee. But I really am invested in, like, the Bruiserweight being in the match along with Oni Lorcan and
Danny Burch.
Danny Burch, yeah, they're the NXT tag champions right now. I mean, I know those guys can compete, definitely. I've been watching them over the years in NXT. Pete Dunne, I think, was in last year's War Games, if I'm not correct on that. Also, he's been in the last couple of War Games.
Yeah,
he's only been in one, which was
only been in one. Well, the one that he was in, he
teamed with Ricochet and the Viking Raiders.
Yeah,
which was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Didn't he end up betraying one of them one year or something like that? So I think it's going to be a good match. You know what I mean? I think, you know, all the War Games matches never disappoint. According to Ignacio, Sami Zayn is the 3rd best heel in the business right now, which, you know, some people might.
And he actually disagrees with you. He says that last year's War Games was a big disappointment. He says that NXT is becoming more of a Vince McMahon type of brand.
I think last year's War Games was pretty awesome. I loved it.
Yeah,
the match itself
it was good. It was good. I mean,
especially how they kept the surprise of the mystery partner. It was very well done, especially when nobody expected Kevin Owens to be that ace up the sleeve of Tommaso Ciampa and the rest of his team against the Undisputed Era.
Now, if you guys notice, you know, within the past 3 War Games, it's always been the Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
And I believe they won the first one, lost, you know, these last 2. So I mean, who knows what's gonna happen with this one? It's gonna be interesting because it's things that were planted, you know, at NXT Takeover 31. You know, it's things that were planted at NXT Takeover 30 this past year. So it's gonna be very interesting. And Ignacio also does have a point. You know, there's also another War Games match as well, the Women's War Games, which is gonna feature.
Yeah, last year was good, by the way. The female War Games was.
Yes.
I think it was better than the guys. Yeah, agreed.
Let me see which ones.
It's going to be this year. It's going to be, I know, Shotzi Blackheart and her team against Candice LeRae and her team, which seems to be forming with Indy Hartwell and possibly Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. But one of the things I love about this year's War Games, and I haven't been too big on the WWE music that they use to promote the upcoming shows, but the fact that they're using the legendary Black Sabbath War Pigs as the theme for this year's War Games, it's like, yes, plus I honestly like when NXT does, use the use of heavy metal music to promote big events like this, because it helps tell a story. Especially the first War Games, you had Swing of the Axe as their theme song. I'm not too sure about last year, 2019, but this year using Black Sabbath's War Pigs, it's like, wow, I had skip. I'm just
pumped for it using any of Ozzy's music this year.
They're not going to be able to use it.
Yeah.
So this year's second War Games is going to consist of Team Shotzi, as you mentioned, versus Team Candice. Team Shotzi will consist of Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Tony Storm, and mystery competitor versus Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. Another match that I think is going to be setting up for War Games as well is a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. After what happened, or after what transpired this past Wednesday, do you actually think Leon Ruff has a chance against both Gargano and Priest?
I mean, they put the championship on him. When you think about it, he looks to be a very good wrestler. I've not seen a whole lot of Leon Ruff, I'm not gonna lie, but it tells a good story. It's an underdog, a rocky story, where he's going up against two established NXT stars. One, a dangerous martial artist in Damian Priest. The other, a longtime veteran in Johnny Gargano, who is at one point was beloved by fans, but has since become one of the most hated villains in NXT. But it can really help Leon Ruff, hopefully in a positive, or it could possibly hurt him as, okay, yeah, it's another Rocky story, but where's it going to go after TakeOver War Games 4?
Maybe another Santino, if you think about it.
Well, I mean, Priest had pretty much told Regal, hey, I was just trying to help out the guy for fun. Pretty much making him being assumed that Ruff didn't have a chance against Gargano by himself after winning via disqualification, since Priest took out Ruff and just pretty much just punched him in the face, so that way he can beat Gargano via disqualification. So anything can happen. We had seen Gargano win the title. We've seen Priest with the title. Who knows? Maybe Ruff has an actual chance of beating both guys and outsmarting them. Who knows? I mean, he did really good this past week on NXT against Johnny Gargano by himself until the disqualification and almost getting his ass kicked. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen between these three and the title.
Now, the next question I'm going to ask both of you guys objectively, of course. Mike, you said you saw a little bit of NXT. Did you see the main event with Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley?
Yeah, I saw maybe like the last 5 minutes of the match, and it looked pretty intense, to be honest. I mean, it looks like both females were, throwing punches and, suplexes and jumping off ropes like, they would be fighting for a championship match. And it looked like, to me, it looked like it was a great match, just up until the very end, obviously, right? Both competitors have very much respect for each other. They shaking each other's hands at the end. Giving each other a big hug. So
yeah,
just from what I saw, great match.
And Jaime, did you see both matches? When I say both, I mean Io and Rhea, as well as Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa, both in their entirety.
Mm.
Yes, I did watch both. Despite the fact that NXT, yes, did have a good match, I think Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa did have a better match, in my opinion. Even though there were some hijinks, with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and also Rebel interfering in the match, to which after the match, Thunder Rosa was upset and attacked the Doctor. So who knows what's going to happen from there, how that feud is going to be continued on, or and I believe the Doctor kept on telling Thunder Rosa, hey, you know what, go back to NWA, pretty much telling her like, you're not wanted here because there's only one higher star power, and that is the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, would you compare Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker, and who really is more the in-demand star outside of their respective leagues?
I mean, honestly,
It's Dr. Britt Baker. Just kidding.
It could be both. I mean, yes, Thunder Rosa does have the higher advantage due to the fact that she's more known because of her time in NWA and also with AEW. So it could go possibly.
She also did have a cup of coffee with Ring of Honor, and let's not forget Lucha Underground, where she was Mariposa.
Yeah, so I mean, she is well known. I mean, however, the Doctor, does can cut a good promo. She does make some good points and whatnot, and just makes you think like, hey, she's not only good in the ring, she's also good outside of the ring. She's good at talking. She can back up her talk and just use it to fight. So I mean, I think again, it could be either or. But if we're talking about outside of AEW, it's more Thunder Rosa than it would be with the Doctor.
And you mentioned earlier about tag team wrestling, of course. What about your thoughts on the Young Bucks when they took on the team of Top Flight in Top Flight's tag team debut on AEW? Your thoughts on what kicked off this past Wednesday's Dynamite?
With that one, I did have to unfortunately miss it because I had to, cover up with some other personal stuff. So I really had to miss that match. I wish I could have seen it. How was it, by the way?
I truly enjoyed it. It was a good tag team match, which involved an established tag team and a brand new tag team, which the Top Flight tag team are both in their late teens, early 20s, taking on a tag team that many consider one of the best tag teams in the world, the Young Bucks, who are, in my opinion, one of the most in-demand and highly touted tag teams that you could find out there. They're the current tag team champions. And to have a great match with company's champions.
They are the best tag team in the world, by the way.
Yes, Mike.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Can you see that? Can you see me right now?
Mike, his tongue.
Mike,
he actually admitted
Mike,
it.
don't be sour just because you lost that bet that we had prior to Full Gear where the Young Bucks
are the best tag team in the world.
Right.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with you, Mike. I thought they would have lost also. Given how everything was just pretty much aligned for them to lose.
Be glad, Jaime, you were not involved in that bet because I would have probably had you say something about the Briscoes.
Oh no! I think I'd rather do something else and just say that the Briscoes would be the best. I wouldn't admit to that.
Going back to what Ignacio was saying over here, he says that Thunder Rosa is the best wrestler in the world right now. Would any of you attest or agree with that?
Honestly, I agree. I mean, like I said, she's been through so many different promotions. She has her own promotion here in Texas, which is basically an all-women's wrestling promotion.
Mission Pro Wrestling.
Mission Pro Wrestling. Hopefully we get to go to one of those shows, by the way.
Yeah, and she's also a mixed martial artist too.
Yeah.
So I mean, she pretty much has it. She pretty much has it made for herself. If she wants to transition to wrestling, she can go ahead and transition to wrestling. She wants to go to MMA, she can go ahead and do her best in MMA.
I think she's in a very good spot right now, to be honest. Like, I'm glad that, I know that there was a lot of speculation saying that, she was going to either come to AEW or WWE, et cetera. Obviously, she's still contractually obliged to NWA right now, at least until, 2021 or 2022, I think.
I believe until 2021.
2021, maybe end of 2021. So she's got it made. I think even she said that she doesn't want to lose her name or her character or anything like that. I agree with Ignacio that she is the best wrestler in the world right now. I think she's the most exposed as far as being put out there as well. You know what I mean? Whether it be from one promotion to the other, and she's doing a very good job branding herself outside of just wrestling itself. And she's very popular with the fans. And I hope to one day that I wanted to meet her at WrestleFest, but obviously that's might be postponed for a later time, obviously. So
yeah. She's definitely helped reestablish Texas wrestling, in my opinion, because she's a proud Texan, is Thunder Rosa, and anytime there's a Texas card with her on it, it just makes it even more special. And in many ways, I would put her in the same category of the Dusty Rhodeses, the Steve Austins, the Undertakers, the Booker T's, the people that helped, Shawn Michaels, people that give Texas wrestling an awesome name. And, it's the Von Erichs. Also, can't forget those guys. So for Thunder Rosa, hopefully we do get to see her, whether it's at an NWA event or an indie show that she does here in Texas, or if AEW comes back to Texas after this pandemic ends. Hopefully we get that opportunity. I know you're right. We were supposed to see her at this past year's either WrestleFest or the Summerfest. It was one of the two. But the pandemic, unfortunately, put the kibosh on that.
Match. I think she was supposed to be in one of the matches at Summer Smash. Now that we're talking about CWL, right? But we unfortunately got to miss that. Unfortunately, and the show was canceled. So hopefully this coming year things get a little bit better, and hopefully who knows what's going to happen. Obviously, right now we're still in deep concern with the pandemic going on still. Yeah. So we'll see, man, how shows could be dead forever, man. So that might be a bad thing for the indie scene.
Yeah, just be safe, guys. Just continue washing your hands, wear your mask, and just keep your social distancing. And eventually, hopefully, this pandemic comes to an end. But also going back into some other things, I don't want to focus on the pandemic, unfortunately.
Well, let me go ahead and just do a very small cheap plug. Okay. You guys might have been aware. Come December 12th, and thank you, Ignacio, for reminding us.
Yeah.
Come December 12th in San Antonio at the Wrestling Shop Trademark and Collectibles in Rolling Hills, at the Rolling Hills Mall. They are going to have
Rolling Hills or Rolling Oaks?
Rolling Oaks, sorry.
Yeah, right.
I've never been there, so.
Me neither, so don't feel bad.
So they're going to have Shaw Guerrero, daughter of Eddie Guerrero. They're also going to have Thunder Rosa, and they're also going to have Red Velvet as well for their respective meet and greets on that day. Pricing, just go ahead and check out the Wrestling Shop and Trademark Collectibles Facebook page for more information.
Yeah.
And as you guys mentioned, social distancing and whatnot. So I mean, I think it's really interesting having a Guerrero under the same roof as Thunder Rosa, because if you guys remember, Shaw also was or I believe she still is a wrestler. She used to compete for FCW and NXT as well. So I mean, it should be a very good meet and greet. There's also going to be some indie wrestling this coming Saturday as well. Just to kind of plug them in. Wrestling Revolution, they are going to have I believe a benefit show. Yeah. This coming Saturday at the and Danny's going to kill me for forgetting his wrestling school. Hang on.
New Breed?
Yes, it's a New Breed wrestling school.
Uh-huh.
So they're going to be having some good matches. Main event match will be Alex Arsenal defending his Grand Warrior Championship against Príncipe Celestial. Also another match that was announced, Danny Chance versus Carlos Franco as well. So if you guys haven't done so, go ahead and buy your tickets. It's a canned food drive. The address is 305 East Pecan Boulevard. Show starts at 6:00, and it's gonna be this Saturday. So I mean, it's again, there's wrestling everywhere. Before the Thanksgiving break, there's wrestling obviously on TV. Survivor Series. We have local indie wrestling here. So I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and check these guys out, hey, my word of advice. It's very great to just go and watch these guys perform and give it their all for their fans.
And of course, speaking of going to shows, which is something that we've not been able to do a whole lot of because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was thankful, of course, to be able to go to both the Worlds Collide show and the Royal Rumble this past January in Houston. But wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that there's the reports that have been circulating that WWE may no longer, even after the pandemic ends, may no longer be doing house shows. What is y'all's takes on this? I mean, I know you guys haven't travel to be able to go see shows in the bigger cities like the San Antonios, the Houstons, the Dallases for the major events for WWE or other promotions. But what's your take on that if that is to come to pass where WWE decides no more when it comes to just live events, just only TV and network events overall?
I mean, I think at this point it makes a lot of sense, obviously, especially for them financially, because I'm sure at some point it's costing them money to, do these shows as well. And, unfortunately right now, because of what's been going on, I know that they've lost a lot of money, you know what I mean? And they're probably still losing money, you know what I mean? And this is not something that's being publicized, obviously, but I'm pretty positive that even the wrestlers' pay is getting cut. Whoever's contracted with them still, they might be, having to take a lesser contract because of what's going on, right? So it only makes sense. I'm not disappointed in it just because, hopefully that means that maybe one day we'll get a live televised show down here where we live. Obviously we have the Bird Ogden Arena. I think they're building a new arena somewhere off the expressway in McAllen, kind of where the FAR Convention Center is, but on the other side, if you guys pass by there, they're building another some sort of arena building or something like that, because I saw stadium seating on the inside also, because I pass through there every day for work. That's why. So I'm thinking.
Oh, okay, no. I think what they're making there is the aquatic center for the university.
Oh, okay. I mean, I saw an amphitheater type thing where I saw stadium seating. Maybe that's just me, but it's a pretty big building if that is an aquatic center for the UTM.
Yeah, there. From what I understand, that there's. I mean, since when they're at the university where the rec center is, it's pretty small. They're trying to make something a lot bigger. I believe to pretty much establish a swim team for the university. But I mean, it would be pretty cool if they would actually use it for something like that as well.
It looks huge to me, but maybe you're right. Maybe that's what I'm seeing. But either way, you still have venues like the FAR Convention Center or even the Pain Arena. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can get something going to that extent where we can actually see a live televised event. And obviously I know Jay's been kind of caught on camera a couple times, actual pay-per-view or televised events, right? So maybe one of these days we will be, depending on how they manage to fill an entire arena like that again. You know what I mean? And it's concerning, but at the same time, I get why WWE is doing it. And again, same thing with other promotions like AEW, right? Which we're just getting started, and I'm sure that even though I know that their arenas were not filled up at full capacity when they were starting their shows, the first 6 months they did pretty good. You know what I mean? So, hopefully, again, we can just see some sort of, type of arena shows again eventually at some point, because I'm missing it. I really want to go.
I mean, honestly, my opinion, it's good that they're not doing it, because I mean, it's less, it's more breaks for the superstars. They're constantly on the road. They're probably at home about 3 days out of the whole month or something like that, or out of the whole week or 2 weeks. So they're constantly traveling, but at the same time, it's also a bad thing, because, if they do away with those types of shows, it's going to be no more shows for small towns like here in Edinburgh or McAllen, or Hidalgo. So it's going to be less shows for them, less revenue for those towns as well, because it's going to be less attraction, because I mean, we're border town with Reynosa, Mexico. We have a lot of wrestling fans that are Mexican, and they love their WWE. They love their Lucha Libre, AAA or CMLL. They love all these different types, and they want to go see like Rey Mysterio or John Cena or something. So it's just taking that away, it's pretty much just less tourism coming into the U.S. or coming into these types of small towns as well.
Yeah.
And of course, our double main event program, we're going to go ahead and cover here. Our double main event topics, I should say. The contract signing for Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. That's set for December 2nd. winter is coming. Thoughts on what happened to Moxley and also the announcement Moxley made about him and his beautiful wife, the former Renee Young, Renee Paquette, who, John Moxley dropped the news earlier. Y'all's thoughts on what happened this past Wednesday?
For those that might have missed it, John Moxley did announce that his wife is currently pregnant right now.
Probably the biggest news all week.
I mean, honestly, if you think about it, yes, Roman Reigns has kids. Seth Rollins, he's already due to leave for some time because Becky Lynch is already expecting to have her.
Month.
Yeah, by next month. So tomorrow night it's gonna be Seth Rollins versus Buddy Murphy, and I believe that's gonna be the send off that he needs. And then with John Moxley, and Renee announcing that they're gonna have kids, someone was saying online, hey, it's gonna be the reformation of the Shield, kids edition or so on and so forth. I mean, it's interesting, it's interesting,
the next generation, if you think about it.
Me as a dad, I want to go ahead and congratulate John Moxley because, it's one thing to say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and take care of kid, but it's another thing to say, hey, I'm a proud dad. I'm going to go ahead and do everything I can for my kids because kids are obviously a handful. Jay, you've met my kids, Jay, and you've seen, what they can do. Some of them can just take down sliders and chicken nuggets and they have no remorse whatsoever. They just look at you and they'll just be like, hey, I did it, whatever. So I mean, it's congratulations on behalf of us and Armbar as well. In regards to who might have attacked John Moxley during the contract signing, it could have been anybody. I mean, it wasn't Kenny because Kenny was already at the table.
He was in the ring.
He was already in the ring, and pretty much he gave Schiavone a look like, can you believe this guy? Like, he didn't even show up to his own contract signing, and he just signed the contract.
But how do we know Omega didn't do that himself prior to coming out there? You know what I mean? So a lot could happen between commercial breaks and time frames, but ultimately, come December 2nd, do you see John Moxley retaining and once again defeating Kenny Omega, or do you see Omega becoming the first man to hold both at different points in his career, the IWGP Heavyweight and AEW World Championships?
Honestly, it's kind of hard to tell because, Moxley also does have to go to Japan in 2 months to defend the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. With his wife being pregnant, he also has to go ahead and try to isolate himself as well because last thing he wants is for his pregnant wife to have any complications. He's going to have to also isolate himself because he's going to another country that he hasn't been in almost a year as well. So it's going to be kind of a toss up. If he does, if he does drop the championship to Omega, then I mean he still has the IWGP United States Championship to defend with Kenta. If he drops both of them, then that pretty much means that he wants to take some time off to be with his pregnant wife and just get everything taken care of.
It's been a hell of a year for the Hellraiser John Moxley, who's had quite the year from winning the U.S. title back from Lance Archer and then successfully defending against Juice Robinson at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom to becoming the second man to win the AEW World title and just the defenses he's had, whether against Brody Lee, Jake Hager, MJF, to, of course, now with just recently with Eddie Kingston in an I Quit match. John Moxley, he's helped really reestablish who he is in terms of being that badass that we always knew he was in WWE. But, basically the cuffs came off when Dean Ambrose was left behind in Stamford and John Moxley escaped the jail in Stamford, Connecticut to eventually join Jacksonville and Tokyo. So overall, I mean, I'm happy for John Moxley and for Renee Paquette for the announcement of their pregnancy. Big ups to those guys. And also, if it's Moxley's time to retain against Omega, awesome. If not, if this is Omega's time to finally become the ace that he was meant to be in AEW, then I'm for it either which way. I'm a big Moxley fan. I'm a big Omega fan. So I'm just looking to see a fantastic battle between two of the very best for one of the most prestigious championships in all of wrestling, the AEW World Championship, on Wednesday night, December 2nd. And now on to the main event topic. Of course, this Sunday at Survivor Series, we would not be remiss without talking about the man that'll make his final farewell, his final chapter, perhaps in my opinion, the greatest WWE superstar of all time. And I know that covers a lot of ground. And that is the Phenom, The Undertaker, who's been there from the Hogan and Warrior era to the current era with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns and everything else in between. Just wanted to get your thoughts. This is just, kind of like how I always do my, fan question of the month or of the night, I guess, fan friendly question of the night. In this case, to kind of put that all together, what are some of your favorite memories and favorite matches of The Undertaker? And if you had the chance to see him live, feel free to share that memory as well, or memories.
Honestly, I've never had the chance to see him live. I've always wanted to. Just like everyone else, I was afraid of him because he had this aura, this demeanor, that would just show up and just, take names, beat down his opponents, and just leave him there laying after either the Last Rider or the Tombstone Power Driver. Just watching him transition, also, from just keeping kayfabe. He never stepped out of interviews, just to portray someone that he wasn't. He always kept it, close to himself. Up until now, recently with all these things with him posting stuff on Instagram, wrestlers taking shots, John Cena, who just fired the first shot at Taker last year, or no, it wasn't last year. It was like
2 years ago.
2 years ago, for WrestleMania 34, where he kept on saying, "Hey, instead of hiding behind Michelle McCool and doing Instagram videos, why don't you just come over and fight me at Mania?" So there was that, and then AJ Styles pretty much did the same thing, and we got this new version of Taker, which is the American Badass, and then it's the Dead Man, and then his true persona, his legit, like, non-wrestling persona, all three in one. So I thought, just watching all these interviews, watching all these documentaries, I thought it's been an interesting ride for the Undertaker. I've learned some things that I never even knew about the guy. My favorite match with him or from him would be, obviously Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25, and he even said it today when I was watching the Hot Ones, that he would basically say that would be his number one favorite match that he had participated in, because it was it was everything. It was perfect storytelling. Hey Mick, it was everything that you could have wanted and more. And obviously, the following year it was Shawn's obsession to trying to beat the Undertaker and trying to end the streak at the same time, which unfortunately he couldn't and had to retire in the process. It was just that one thing. It was the way I saw that match was light versus darkness. Shawn Michaels, being the reverse Undertaker, showing up in white in a white outfit attire to the ring, and then you have the Undertaker who was obviously darkness and just wearing the all black. So I think that will forever be my favorite all-time match.
With The Undertaker, I've had the opportunity to see him live 4 times between 1995 through 2017. I got to see The Undertaker live at South Padre. This is long before the Rio Grande Valley had legitimate arenas in the valley, like the Payne Arena in Hidalgo or Bird Ogden Arena in Edinburgh, where Taker wrestled Kama, the Supreme Fighting Machine, or as he was known as later on, the Godfather, and before then Papa Shango, in a casket match. That was my first specialty match I got to see live in person. It was a casket match with Undertaker and Kama, and they just tore the roof down of that matchup. And it was a little small convention center at the island. and then getting to see the Brothers of Destruction as a tag team in January of 07 when they took on Mr. Kennedy and MVP here in Hidalgo, which another favorite memory of mine, as well as Taker's final Hidalgo appearance in 2008 in October that year. We faced the Big Show, where Mike and I've had some arguments. Mike does not remember that match. Me, I remember it vividly. And then, of course, my very first major WWE Network event getting to attend was the Royal Rumble in 2017 at the beautiful Alamo Dome in San Antonio, and getting to see The Undertaker partake in the Royal Rumble match. That was just, if that was going to be the last time I could see the Dead Man live, then hey, I was willing to take that, and I was just happy to get to see the Dead Man in person. As far as memories, I mean, I became an Undertaker fan during his feud with Jake the Snake Roberts, and this is when a time when Taker's not saying much. Paul Bear's doing his talking, and Jake is asking him, "Hey, whose side are you on?" And all Taker had to say, with that look in his eye and his expression, was "not yours," and that was the birth of what was going to become one of the greatest heroes of WWE, that being The Undertaker. And as far as favorite matches, love the match with him in Austin at SummerSlam '98. I kind of almost, especially when that was the middle of the Attitude Era, kind of almost compared Austin and Undertaker to what Hogan and Andre was to the golden age of WWE. And, of course, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, the first Hell in a Cell, their WrestleMania back-to-back series was just, as far as how to where to pick a favorite match from those three, it's like asking me to pick what my favorite kid is. It's impossible. And I don't have kids, by the way. And then, of course, Undertaker and Triple H, I enjoyed their trilogy, including their end of an era Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 28. And another that I truly enjoyed, that I really loved, was Undertaker and CM Punk at WrestleMania 29, where Taker paid tribute to Paul Bear for that match. And just to me, The Undertaker, whether he was wrestling, whether it was one of the most athletic guys in the business like Shawn Michaels, or a gigantic human being, whether it was Giant Gonzalez, Taker just knew how to make magic work with anyone. And to me, and the fact that this past year's WrestleMania, especially when people were, after WrestleMania 28, when he had his last match with Triple H, well, there was supposedly some other match they had in Australia a couple of years ago. I don't remember, so I'm not going to count that. So their last end of an era match, people were already saying, okay, it's time for Taker to retire, and yet still had a hell of a match with Punk at WrestleMania 29. Enjoyed his 2015 rivalry with Brock Lesnar, where Taker got his revenge for Brock breaking the streak, with Taker busting on Brock's, at SummerSlam back in 2015, and leading to their terrific Hell in a Cell match they had later that year. But to me, the most talked about match at WrestleMania this year, when everyone was like, this match should not even be happening, this is going to be garbage, was Undertaker and AJ Styles, the Boneyard match. That, to me, whether it was cinematic or not, the match had your attention from start to finish. And people are going to be looking at me like, oh, why would you pick this as your selection? This is going to be my selection for the 2020 match of the year, because it told a story, and the symbolism of The Undertaker leaving the Boneyard with his symbol and then everything else in flames, and with AJ buried, literally not how they say they bury someone or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just the perfect send-off, that if this was the final WrestleMania match for The Undertaker, the final match for the Dead Man, this was definitely written appropriately. And I'll definitely miss the Dead Man on after Sunday. He definitely was one of the reasons. I'll put it to you this way: if Hulk Hogan is what brought me into becoming a wrestling fan, The Undertaker is what kept me as a wrestling fan over the years. And his presence will definitely be missed all around WWE television and network events.
Very well put, Jay. How do I follow that up?
You can't.
I can't. No. So, I mean, there's just too many Undertaker memories for me, obviously. The one time I was able to see it, and again, me and Jay have disputed this, because I don't remember him coming down more than once, or at least I don't remember seeing him more than live once down here, which was that tag match with him and Kane versus Kennedy and whoever, I guess. MVP, again, I don't even remember who their opponents were. I just remember the ambience of him and his, his entrance that evening, which was the only time I ever got to see him. And, it's not something that you just ever forget, you know what I mean? And again, Jay's been fortunate to see him a couple of times. And it's just one of those deals where, like, if that was my only time seeing him wrestle live, then I enjoyed it. And I just remember the match was still great, even though it was a tag team main event match, you know what I mean? At the time, Dodge Arena, right? It was one of those things where it's just like, wow, like you have to appreciate and you have to take in that type of character, because that's a once in a lifetime generation of character right there, right? And we may never see it again in the industry, but going back to like favorite matches, I think some of my favorite memories of the Undertaker, obviously any of his Hell in a Cell matches, obviously going back all the way to his Mankind versus Undertaker match at I don't think it was a WrestleMania or anything. It was like a Bad Blood.
It was at King of the Ring, yeah, because that's the ring.
So I think his feud with Mick Foley in the late '90s was vaguely underrated. His Boiler Room matches when Mick Foley had Paul Heyman as his manager, and really one thing that people should appreciate the Undertaker is that he was amazing at putting over other talents that were coming up. You know what I mean? And at that time, I think he was that dark figure in the company, and people didn't really. I feel like at the time, and this is me going back to when I was I was like super young at the time. I don't remember exactly how young I was. Again, this was like 90s between 97 and 99, right? But just trying to appreciate the type of character that like he was helping develop in Mankind, right? Because again, not a lot of people knew who Mick Foley was back then. And, obviously his transition over from ECW and WCW to WWE, those matches helped him out big time. You know what I mean? And then fast forwarding to, when Taker was having his battles with Jeff Hardy, you know what I mean? And again, building these new talents and, helping recognize all of these other people in the progress. His feud with Edge, you know what I mean? I think that was one of my favorites also back in the day. Fast forwarding again up until WrestleMania 25, which is a lot of people's favorite. Undertaker's WrestleMania match. One of my favorite WrestleMania matches, which is not something that maybe you guys will disagree, is him versus Randy Orton, though, which is like
that was very good.
I think that was WrestleMania
21.
It was Was it 21? No, this is when.
Yeah, it was WrestleMania 21. Their very first.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't like technically very first encounter, but it was their very first WrestleMania encounter. It was WrestleMania 21.
When, the streak was still kind of in its infancy, right? And people really didn't care about it, but really, Randy Orton kind of made people start caring about that streak, actually, because really prior to that, not a lot of people had been talking about it. You know what I mean? That's what kind of put his streak on notice. And then every year after that, leading up to Brock Lesnar, which is, probably a lot of people say that's like one of the best, records or whatever, like in history. You know what I mean? He's just a generational talent that I don't think none of us will ever forget. We're obviously going to miss him as a talent, right? And I honestly feel like he's not done, guys. A lot of people say, let's finish it. I don't think he's done.
Yeah. So apparently, he says, in his eyes, he's done. But it's a WWE. You never know.
It's the WWE.
You never know. And on top of that. I really like the fact that you guys mentioned the Boiler Room Brawl earlier when I was watching the Hot Ones, and he took down those. By the way, he took down 10 wings, guys. 10 very hot intensive wings.
Well, he's a 300-pounder. So.
But hang on. I've watched the show, and the guy did not take a sip of milk at all. Wow. So he just left it to the full brim. So he has my respects, as a fellow Texan, he has my respect because the guy just took everything down. Not even Steve Austin, was able to do that. So that pretty much says a lot.
I think he name dropped him on that episode too.
Yeah. So basically what they asked him, hey, is it true that JR wanted to do an escape from Alcatraz match? And he actually confirmed it. He said, yes, instead of the Boiler Room Brawl, we were supposed to have an Escape from Alcatraz match between The Undertaker and Mankind. And they wanted to do it, but I guess due to timing or constraints, they weren't able to do said match. But I mean, could you imagine, these two guys escaping, the most famous prison here in the United States, and it's often its own island too, in
That would have been
California.
interesting.
So
In fact, Roddy Piper did a promo in the inside Alcatraz leading into WCW Super Brawl back in '97. So that would have been something to see at that point. Undertaker and Mankind inside that particular famous.
I think now
ground.
in 2020, a match like that would probably fly because obviously these cinematic matches are something that they're obviously going to use going forward. But 20 some odd years ago, that's not something that probably was an option, or at least maybe at the time they really couldn't figure it out, since again a lot of those shows were live back then. You know what I mean? So maybe Vince or whoever just didn't want to do something like that. You know what I mean? But now obviously it would be a match that people would see.
Yep.
Alcatraz.
Well, any final moments? Any final comments before we close out tonight?
Interesting tidbit about The Undertaker. I don't think he's ever held any type of mid-card title except for the tag team championships.
Well, he has actually held the Hardcore Championship. That's the only one. But mid-card, Intercontinental, European, or United States, no, he had been in pursuit of, I believe, the United States Championship when it was around the waist of Mr. Kennedy. I want to say back in 2007, six, okay, 6, 7. So I mean, he was in pursuit of that, but he had never won that. He's won tag titles. He's won world championships. He's
hardcore championship.
He's won the hardcore championship. So the man's a legend. He's pretty much has an extended list of accomplishment, championships, and resume, from competing in Smoky Mountain Wrestling up until here in the WWE. It's been one huge ride for him, and unlike a lot of superstars that we see nowadays that go from one wrestling company to another, the man, he never left the WWE. That's how loyal he was, and I remember one time they had asked Vince McMahon on the Last Ride documentary, how's your relationship with Mark Calloway, The Undertaker? And it's kind of hard to explain because, the guy's been loyal. He's been through so many ups and downs with Vince McMahon. Even though there's been fights, there's been disputes, the man's been very loyal. Whenever he's needed, he shows up and does what he has to do. And he said it, basically, it's not about the money, it's about, the fans. And because of the fans, it's what carries, wrestlers like him to become legends. He at the end of the day wants to do it for the fans. He doesn't want to do it for the money or anything. So I mean, it's again, that's my respects to him. He's a legend in the business. I don't think there'll ever be another Undertaker, because it's just only one. There won't never ever be another undefeated streak because his was so long. Yes, there's people that have never lost in a WrestleMania, but to keep it consistent like that, the way he's had it, for him to compete in different types of matches, Hell in a Cell matches, Buried Alive matches, Inferno matches. He's competing in Boiler Room Brawls. He's practically done it all.
TLC Chamber and TLC or not TLC, but
he did do a TLC match. Yes.
Yeah, he did a TLC. No, he's never won a Money in the Bank, but I mean, honestly,
he's won the Royal Rumble in 2007.
Yeah, he's won the Rumble. He's never won a Money in the Bank, but I mean, honestly, he doesn't really need it because he's already closed down his career. He's already done it all, per se. He's competed in so many matches. He's done Elimination Chambers. He's done a TLC against Edge at Extreme Rules. So it's been a good ride from the dead man.
Definitely. And one of the other things that you mentioned, of course, about his loyalty to WWE, Stone Cold Steve Austin even asked The Undertaker on his first Broken Skull Sessions interview with The Undertaker, why did he stay when so many others were leaving for WCW, especially in the mid '90s when it was the thing to do. And he said, "I never forgot who gave me an opportunity."
Yeah.
Because let's face it, Undertaker was in WCW in '90 as Mean Mark Callis, and it was Ole Anderson that basically told the Undertaker, "You will never draw a dime in this business." Yeah. And yet it was Vince McMahon that gave Mark Calloway that fateful phone call after he had inquired about possibly going to WWE. Is this the Undertaker? And the rest was history. And we saw it at Survivor Series in 1990 when he was the mystery partner for the $1 Million Man and his $1 Million team. To now this Sunday where we see the final farewell of the Undertaker. And that to me, to stay in one company for as long as he has, that's loyalty, because others had gone because of whatever reason, whether it was money or creative issues. Yet he was the one guy that's been the one constant in the WWE. Never went to WCW when it could have been the thing to do. Thankfully, we can say he didn't go to TNA, no matter at any point at that particular company's existence. Yeah, and he could have lent his credibility to Ring of Honor at that point, but at the same time, though, the dead man's loyalty was to WWE. So I don't think we'll be seeing him on any other show after Sunday. What I mean by that, any other promotions show for that matter. But like you said, it doesn't need it. He's had the career that he's had. He's a once-in-a-lifetime superstar, and Sunday's our way of saying thank you. And, we'll definitely who knows? Like you said, he could be getting that itch for one more match, but if he chooses to, that's to his discretion. But if not, hey, he's had a hell of a career, and it'll be basically time for him to say his goodbyes, and we'll see it on Sunday at Survivor Series.
So if that match happens, just figuratively speaking, right? If he ends up having one more match, who do you guys think it would be against?
Honestly, it's kind of hard to say because we've heard people, say, hey, we were penciled in for a match against the Undertaker and we turned it down. Like, for example, Sting, he was supposed to take on the Undertaker at WrestleMania 27, if I'm not mistaken. But he, had signed a new contract with TNA at the time and said, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go and stay here for the long ride. And what ended up happening, he ended up leaving the company
3 years later.
Yeah, he at a very late age. He did have his WrestleMania moment against Triple H, but it's everyone had been clamoring for everyone had wanted that match. I honestly really can't say because he's done it all. He's defeated everyone that.
Okay, well, what about an active talent? Okay, if there's someone that the Undertaker would face, not AJ Styles. Let's put AJ Styles in the past already, right?
All right.
That's done already. Who is the talent that you guys would think that he would fight in the last match? And obviously, it's going to be at a WrestleMania because that's the only time he ever wrestles for years. So.
I heard that he wouldn't mind taking on the Fiend, and that would be a great match as well. The Fiend versus the Undertaker. Yeah. Or
basically a passing of the torch from one monster to another, but one that's become very popular. And I could see the Fiend being the guy that kind of takes the role of that popular monster type figure, because as he is, he's already becoming a fan favorite. Why mess that up? In my opinion. Or I could see maybe perhaps against not regular Prince Finn Balor, but the Demon King, which I could see as that final collision for the Undertaker to have.
Yeah, that's a good one also. I mean, I would love to see Edge versus Taker again.
We've already had it. We've already had that match. We've had SummerSlam. We've had Extreme Wars. So move on.
Like Michaels to just come back from retirement for one.
And what have another Super Showdown and
another 8-star classic. I mean, who knows? I mean, what was that WrestleMania 25 match rated? Was that a 5-star at the time?
Both matches, 25 and 26, were given 4 3/4 stars.
Oh my God! Do you disagree with any of those?
Hell yes.
Yeah. Do you think they should have been higher than a 5-star match?
I could have said 5 at the limit because nobody knew about 6 or 7 stars.
Yeah.
But at least
No, I'm not doing the diamond cutter. I'm trying to say 7, but you know.
Please don't remind me of that feud in 2001. I'm still trying to forget about that. But at that time, though, I will say that at least Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, their matches were given their due, being match of the year by both PWI and the Observer, which it's rare for one match to be given that match of the year candidate and award from two different publications the same year. It's rare that both publications agree that, hey, this was the match of the year. Yep. And for it to happen 2 years in a row with Taker and Michaels in 2009 and 2010, and Okada and Omega 2017 and 2018, that's a rarity of itself. That's why I posed a question to Jaime earlier in a conversation we had. I didn't pose that question to you, Mike, because I'm not too sure if you ever saw Okada versus Omega, any of their matches between 2017 and 2018. But Jaime, being someone who watched all of the matches and watched Michaels and Taker, you said that the better series was HBK and The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But you only just answered, you only just provided the answer. What made HBK and Undertaker better than Okada?
Better storytelling. It was better storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, in order for you to sell a match, you have to sell it from you know, not only fans' perspective, wrestlers' perspective, how you sell the story, vignettes, promos, all these different things. You tie it all together, you make a beautiful story, you sell it at Mania, boom, and you just glue you know, butts into seats, and there you go.
Thank you, Tony Schiavone.
Yes, no, I'm kidding. So I mean, that's what I think. And one thing that I also want to pick at too, you mentioned to me, you know, or you mentioned earlier the Wrestling Observer and all these things. You know, I think, and you're probably gonna hate me for this, Jay. I think
I already gonna do, so it's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
I think Kenny Omega didn't deserve that award. I think that one should have actually gone to Taker, because again, you know, for everything that he's done in the business, in and out.
You talk about Omega going into the Observer's Hall of Fame this year?
Yeah.
Undertaker's already in. He was inducted in 2004 with Kurt Angle.
Really?
Yeah.
Check. Either way, he doesn't deserve that award. He's too young.
Well, the age requirement is 35, or to have at least spent 10 years in the business and have had an impactful run within that time frame. Guys like Tanahashi are already in the Hall of Fame, and I believe he got in before he was 40. Same thing with Shawn Michaels in 96. Just look it up. It's the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame, which I'm
looking at it right now.
Which I'm sure Jim Cornette had a heart attack and wanted to have himself removed from that Hall of Fame, but Cornette, get over it and shut up. But Omega going into the Hall of Fame, hey, his match work, you know, whether in New Japan or in AEW or even in Ring of Honor early on in his career, basically says it all. I know people will say, well, Omega did this with one object or did this in a match against someone that was not of wrestling age.
I mean, it's the past. It's the past. I mean,
it's like a stand-up comedian who did a bunch of comedy shows at bars and dives that all of a sudden becomes taken serious as a serious actor and eventually goes on to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. Omega went from being the guy that was doing the comedy dives and stuff like that to eventually getting that Oscar for his award-winning matches with guys like Okada or with Jericho or Tanahashi, and ultimately being the reason for Mike the Biz's eye twitch at times whenever Omega's name is mentioned. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, you know what? The one person that's not in that Hall of Fame, Eddie Guerrero. There you go.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not.
Eddie Guerrero's in the Hall of Fame, the Wrestling Observer. He was inducted in 2006.
Nope, he's not.
You sure? 2006
I'm
or
sure.
2007?
I'm sure.
He was inducted the same year as The Rock.
Oh my God. Well, you know which Hall of Fame he's in?
Okay, fine. They misspelled his name.
It counts, okay?
I was about to say I'm going to screenshot it to you and be like, yeah.
Okay, he is, but they misspelled his name. Whatever.
Hey, doesn't matter.
I disagree with the guy. That's just point blank. I disagree with the guy.
It doesn't matter if you misspell the name. All you got to do is say the name, and you'll be all right.
Whatever.
But yes, Kenny Omega, this year's Hall of Fame inductee for the Wrestling Observer. And you know what? Hey, big ups to him. And next year, there could be a possibility that Okada goes in, which, the matches he's had, I would not doubt it.
Yep.
Sorry, my dogs are growling in the background.
I thought it was your stomach.
No, I ate before we started live streaming. Well, these dogs are, but I guess that's a sign that we should conclude tonight's episode of Armbar tonight, guys. And again, any final thoughts on the Undertaker and what's going to happen, or any predictions as far as the Survivor Series matches go this Sunday? And we're gonna make the bet here right now. If Omega wins on December, whatever he's having that match against,
December 2nd.
December 2nd. The following episode, I will wear a Kenny Omega shirt on Armbar. Okay.
I'm already beating you. I'm already beating you to that one because I'm wearing my cleaner shirt.
Omega has to win. Okay. And if he loses, then I don't know. I'm not really betting anything against you guys. I'm just saying I'll wear the Omega shirt.
It's not a bet. It's just a one-way ticket to whatever. That's it.
How about we add to that bet? You got to say Omega is the greatest wrestler of all time. If Omega wins the championship, and we got to say. Let me specify: win the title, not count out, not disqualification. He's got to win the title for Mike to have to say the words Kenny Omega is the greatest. Or you know what? You've seen the movie Ready to Rumble, right?
Oh, jeez.
You know where I'm going with this. Omega is the bestest, better than all the restest. Mike's basically got to recite that about Kenny Omega. You have to write
that down for me just in case that happens, but okay.
We'll write it down.
Right, okay. If he loses, then you have to say that Omega is the most overrated wrestler of all time.
Oh, okay. Just like what happened at Full Gear, I will say.
Just like the Young Bucks, if he loses. Yeah. Is the most overrated wrestler, and we can bury it, and that's it. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose this bet.
Probably will.
Yeah.
All right. Until then, any final comments, guys, before we sign off?
As far as predictions go, I'm going with Roman Reigns on the Survivor Series match versus McIntyre. I think he's gonna clean house, and I think Jey Uso will get involved in some way.
Obviously.
Yeah, as far as the female match goes, I'm probably going to stick with probably Asuka in that one just because she's had a couple of wins over Sasha Banks this year. But you never know. I mean, Sasha Banks did beat Asuka kind of for the Raw Women's Championship earlier in the year. So who knows that?
That was a little tainted, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the 5 versus 5 match. Obviously, the classic Survivor Series match. That's something I'm looking forward to. I think Team Raw's team is going to win it this year. But again, who knows? Team SmackDown might, steal the show again, just like they have in the past. So we'll see how that goes. So.
All right. Well, Jaime, any final thoughts, complaints, emotional outbursts?
No. To me, for my picks, SmackDown all the way. SmackDown all the way.
Honestly, I don't care about the elimination matches. I'm like, But as far as the main matches, I'm looking forward to. That I'll give predictions for. I predict New Day over Street Profits, Asuka over Sasha, and Drew over Roman.
All right.
Well, until then, we're signing off. We just say goodbye and good night.
Boo.
Yeah.
You guys enjoy the weekend and enjoy Survivor Series again.
Peace.
Thank you all for tuning in.